asked the Gambia to, 1, outline the methodology it employed to verify witness evidence it received from other entities, including whether the Gambia has access to the identities and personal information of witnesses whose statements were supplied by third parties, and 2, explain what safeguards were in place to ensure that multiple statements relied on as corroborative did not, in fact, originate from the same source. The Gambia received 44 of its witness statements from Legal Action Worldwide, 1 from Fortify Rights and 3 from journalists based on their personal observations. It also received 42 witness statements from the IIMM, 12 of which it placed into the record. The Gambia verified the witness statements received from Legal Action Worldwide and Fortify Rights by satisfying itself as to the methodology used by those entities to obtain the statements, including assurances that the statements reflected the true and honest testimony of the witnesses, who fully understood the contents and willingly signed the statements. The witnesses were not anonymous. The Gambia was aware of their names and other personal information, just that the names were redacted from the versions submitted to the court in 30 of these cases at the witness's request for reasons of protection that I've already given. The statements of the journalists were obtained directly by the Gambia. The statements received from the IIMM were also signed by the witnesses, but the IIMM redacted their names for the witnesses' protection, save in one case, as I've mentioned. In terms of safeguarding against multiple statements from the same witness, because the Gambia had the names of all the witnesses whose statements were submitted to the court, except for the IIMM witnesses, it checked each of the statements to make sure it was from a different witness. We made one error, submitting the same witness statement in both our memorial and reply, not 2 statements from the same witness, but 2 copies of the same statement. And when we confirmed this, we notified the court and withdrew the second statement from the record. After receiving the 42 witness statements from the IIMM, we looked for matches between those statements and the statements from the other sources that we submitted. Since the names were redacted from the IIMM statements, and we received them a very short time before we filed the reply, this was challenging. It turned out that there were 2 matches between the 12 IIMM statements that we annexed to the reply and those we obtained from law and attached to the memorial. After submitting the reply, we asked law whether any of the witnesses whose statements we submitted with the memorial had been interviewed by the IIMM, and we were informed that only these 2 had met with the IIMM. We then wrote to the court on 1 July 2024 to inform it of these 2 instances and sought to make corrections to the reply under Article 52, Paragraph 3 of the rules, to make clear that in 2 of the paragraphs of the reply, we were referring to a single witness's testimony rather than 2 different witnesses. Finally, in one instance in which we received a signed witness statement from law, the same witness's account was included in a collection of interview notes provided by law. The Gambia relied only on the signed witness statement in its written pleadings and did not rely on or cite to the interview notes. Accordingly, in none of the 4 instances mentioned by Myanmar, nor in any other, did we rely on a second statement from any witness as confirmation or corroboration of other statements or for any other purpose. Myanmar's counsel argued that in the 2 instances in which there are witness statements from the same individual, there are contradictions. This is an exaggeration. To be sure, the statements given to the IIMM are longer and more detailed, especially in regard to ARSA. There are also some minor differences in the details provided about the Tatmadaws attacks on their villages, as would be expected when a witness gives statements 3 years apart, as happened here. But there are no significant inconsistencies in these statements concerning the Tatmadaws' activities in their villages. There is no cause to doubt either of the two witnesses' credibility, and certainly no cause to doubt the credibility of the other 42 witness statements obtained by law.